Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. So, today we are doing the 5 ways that your inner child is running the show, and you may not even know it. So, if you're watching this on the gram or listening to this on the pod, welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. And let's start with number 1. So, we're going to go over 5 ways. So, first one on the list is control. So the need to try and control others' behaviors, the timing of things, how you think things should go, all is your inner child trying to control rather than you feeling safe to trust in a higher power, universe, God, source, whatever word resonates for you, supporting you every step of the way and knowing that you are safe to release control. When we are grasping onto control, that is all our inner child. So I'm going to go into some examples of how this control can show up. The first is trying to figure out a decision before you have all the information yet. So needing to obviously as humans, we plan ahead to a certain extent, but when we need to plan ahead so much to the point where it's like, I need to know how all this is going to go. Or I saw someone yesterday post about how they always need to know what they're going to order when they get to the restaurant. Like that need to know protector is so real for the inner child of like, if I don't know, then I can't control it. And then everything feels out of control. And the reality is that so much of life is out of our control. The main thing that is in our control is how to relate to all of the things out of our control. So when we're trying to figure out a decision kind of prematurely of like, okay, if I do this, then it'll go this way. Or if I say this, then they'll respond this way. Like trying to future trip and predict into the future, all the inner child. Another example, trying to control when your partner will finally start that book that they've been wanting to write. So maybe every day you're like giving them a little nudge and it's not feeling like a gentle love kind of nudge, when we give a little like, come on, you got this to our loved ones, but more so this control of like, oh my God, or if they don't write this book, then they're not, the type of person that follows their dreams. And then you make that mean something about them as a partner and you're like, oh my God, maybe our relationship isn't great, right? It's like you start spiraling into all of these, like making it mean stuff. The inner child always loves to make shit mean stuff. So if you're trying to control your partner, both in ways around their addictions or ways around their, positive achievements, like, did you start writing that book today? Or are you going to have that other drink, right? That's all control. And again, it's all very nuanced because it's subtle energy. Someone could be saying out of concern, like, hey, like I'm worried that, you're about to have another drink. That energy might be very different than like sneaking what I used to do when I would date alcoholics and I would fucking take the bottle and pour it down the drain. That was my control. That was my inner child not feeling safe if the other person wasn't okay. All right. Sorry, I just have to put do not disturb because my clients are box during me and it's very distracting. Okay, we are back. So the next part is trying to control what your boss will say when you ask for the raise by framing your request with a certain way. So these are all very real examples from clients. So I have a client who's been wanting a raise from her boss, and she has been very strategic with, which on one hand is intentional, right? We can strategically look at, okay, how do I want to communicate from my power? That's very different than being like, okay, well, if I say it this way, then he's most likely going to say this. And then it's like trying to predict what the other person will say. And we do this a lot in social interactions too. So not just with work, but we also do it with partners, with friends. Well, if I say it this way in a text, then they're going to say this. And what am I going to do? Right? It's like, we're constantly trying to figure out what the other person is going to think or feel or say, because that is our inner child fearing judgment, fearing being misunderstood, fearing criticism, fearing this perceived abandonment. Maybe the person doesn't even respond and it feels like you're just ignored, right? So it's whatever that's triggering for little you. So the next example I already kind of went over, trying to figure out what someone will say to an honest text you want to send, right? So maybe there's a text that you really need to send, like, a request, a need, an emotion, expressing yourself, whatever that looks like. And we try and again, like figure out, well, if I say that, they're going to feel this way. Perfect example. Last night in my men's group, one of the guys we were talking about communication of how can he communicate to this friend that he's been feeling taken advantage of. And he's like, well, if I say this, then they're going to feel this way. And I'm like, but that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility as a friend is to be honest and is to use your voice and to give your inner child a reparative experience, because we traced all the way back to childhood, where in his childhood, he did not feel safe to actually have a voice. He always felt like his needs were not prioritized. And so fast forward to this present day situation, he's worried that if he actually expresses himself, it's not going to be received well, right? And so we try and prevent that from happening. We cannot prevent it from happening. And it's not our job to try and prevent it from happening. Our only responsibility is to honor what we need and actually express it in a kind, assertive, direct, powerful way. Not aggressive, not passive aggressive, not passive, but assertive, where you are honoring the other person, you're honoring yourself, and it's a balanced, beautiful, direct communication. Chef's kiss. It's really, communication is an art form, right? It's not a perfected, like, yes, say it this way or say it that way. It's really an art form of looking at where you are not feeling safe to use your voice. Okay, so another example, trying to tell your friend they shouldn't date that person, have another drink when they didn't ask you for your opinion. And it's coming from your own discomfort of witnessing those you love suffer. Hello, anxious attachment. So this was a huge one for me. I would date these alcoholics. I would be neighbors with alcoholics. I would always attract alcoholics because it was meant to heal my codependency. So I had to learn to be okay with watching someone I love suffer. Luna, she's trying to bite me. I'm just talking with my hands. We have to be okay with watching someone we love suffer, because it's not our job to try and save them. No one can save them except for themselves. No one can want help more than you want to help yourself, right? No one can want that more for you. So I would try and control, because it made me feel so worried about them. Oh my God, are they going to OD? Are they going to be okay? Or am I going to need to call the hospital? I would involve myself to try and be the savior, when that was just an avoidance of focusing on my own life, focusing on my own self, because my inner child did not feel safe to focus on myself. All right, number 2, inability to be with the unknown, needing to know rather than feeling safe to allow it all to unfold as it is meant to. And stay in the present moment. Trauma disconnects us from the present moment. So when we are unable to stay in the present moment and we are unable to be with the unknown, for example, I'm planning a trip and I invited my friend. Are they going to come with me or are they not? They said they need time to think about it. I'm in the unknown, right? I'm not going to plan around them because it's the unknown. They'll either join or they won't. When our safety becomes dependent on needing to know something, needing to know what that person thinks, needing to know if that person's going to join, needing to know what they're going to do, needing to know how much money you're going to make this month. Like, yes, there's a balance with all of this, because we, with the money example, we need that to survive. And also it's, what if you're not meant to know? Because what if you're meant to trust that, yes, of course, you're going to have more than enough to pay your bills and all the things. But if you're an entrepreneur like me, the unknown can actually be quite magical when it comes to money, because you could have your highest income month ever and you could have had no idea, right? So this is where we start to rewire into our adult self of associating the unknown with magic and possibility. Okay, so some examples of trying to be with the unknown, trying to predict what someone will say by rehearsing different potential scenarios. We talked about that. Needing to hear all the details of your partner's night out to feel safe. Speaking from personal experience in all of my relationships, when my partner would be out and there would be females there, I'd be like, so like, did you guys talk? What happened? What? And I would be very sneaky about it. I would be like, oh, so what is she up to these days? Like, da, 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 like not showing that I was feeling threatened. That was all my inner child. She was a very sneaky gal. Needing to know what someone thinks of your decision, outsourcing your power to the opinions of others. So how often do you ask 500 million people, what do you think about this decision I just made? What do you think I should do about this? Rather than turning inward and connecting to your own inner compass. We all have an inner compass, an inner GPS that we ignore when we outsource our power to the opinions and perceptions of other people. This is all our attachment wounding. It is not us relating through authenticity. Gabor Mate says, for as long as we choose attachment over authenticity, we will suffer because we are not actually living in alignment with our souls. Alignment. So when we have to ask a million people, we want to notice, okay, what is this fear? Like, what is little me afraid of? Why don't I feel safe to trust myself? Trusting yourself is a process. Sometimes you can't fully trust yourself because you're learning how to do that. And that's okay. That doesn't have to mean you're unsafe. It just means you're still learning how to trust yourself. Okay, number 3, needing to numb and distract from emotion. TV binging, alcohol binging, smoking weed, video games, overworking, over exercising, constantly staying busy, constantly needing plans on your calendar, constantly avoiding getting still with yourself, because when you get still with yourself, that brings up all of the stored emotion. So it doesn't feel safe to get still with yourself. Yesterday, I had a client who had been through some pretty serious trauma. And just from doing a grounding, the same grounding exercise I take all my clients through at the beginning of each of our sessions, she had all of this emotion come up because she got still with herself. I have other clients that are not able to get still yet because their bodies do not feel safe enough to. And so we titrate the experience. We say, can we just take one breath in stillness? Can we then take 2 breaths in stillness? We take those baby steps to build up that tolerance. So when you are numbing your emotions, and this most of the time is unconscious, where you're always needing to numb out with another episode, another drink, another hit, another cigarette, another, whatever it is, like it's anything that helps you avoid your emotions. And if you're not sure what these are, look at the daily habits you do every day and look at how do you feel when you don't do one of them. So if every night you watch TV before bed, go one night without watching TV, meditate instead, and see what comes up for you. You will find that a lot comes up. So when we need to numb and distract from emotion, that means that our inner child is running the show. We do not feel safe to be with emotion because we were not properly attuned to and held as children. So this is the work that I help my clients with every day, is processing that stored pain and learning how to be your own parent, learning how to feel safe to feel your emotions, learning how to actually be with your pain rather than run away from it. Okay, number 4, attaching on. Attaching on to people, places, and things because you think that's how it, air quote, should be, and because that's what's familiar rather than actually in alignment. We are meant to change and grow and evolve. Let me say it again. We are meant to change, and yet the nervous system does everything in its power to avoid change. Why? Because change is not familiar. Change does not feel safe. That is your inner child. That is your younger part. Now, none of this is to shame the inner child. It's to actually have great compassion for, oh my God, I haven't been feeling safe to actually change and create the changes that I want to create. And I can have deep empathy for that younger part that just wants to hold on to what's familiar, what she knows as safe and comfortable. That makes total sense. That's your nervous system actually doing what it's designed to do. So when people come to me and they're like, what's wrong with me? Why does my nervous system act this way? the first thing I tell them is your nervous system is actually doing exactly what it is designed to do, keep you alive and keep you safe. It doesn't give a shit about you being happy, doesn't give a shit about you creating a life beyond your wildest dreams. It doesn't give a shit about you actually feeling safe to feel your feelings. All it cares about is keeping you alive. And we are so beyond grateful for that, because without that nervous system keeping us alive, we'd all probably be dead. However, in doing this work of rewiring the nervous system out of survival mode, we allow it to only keep us safe when we actually are needing to be in survival mode. That is the difference. 99.9% of the time, we do not need to be in survival mode. We are safe. In this present moment, we are safe. If you are crossing the street, you need to be a little bit in survival mode, look both ways. If you live in a dangerous neighborhood, yes, you need to be in survival mode to keep an eye out for yourself. If you are driving, you need to be careful, wear a seatbelt, be cognizant of what's going on, right? There are times in our lives where, yes, we need to be in survival mode to an extent. But what happens is, because we carry this trauma and this relational wounding from childhood where we don't feel safe to be with any emotions, that fear takes us out, because a child can't hold all that fear. So we need to have someone hold it with us. And that's why I provide that co-regulation with my clients to hold their emotions with them, so they learn how to feel safe to hold it on their own. So when we attach on to what's familiar, we stay in our comfort zone. Maybe we live in the same town our whole lives, the same job, the same partner, the same, like we just never experience change because we're attaching on to something that's familiar rather than actually having to be with the fear of change, of being alone, of loss, of letting go of things that are no longer in alignment. That can feel really scary, but when you feel safe to be with that fear, you feel safe to release what's no longer in alignment. Okay, number 5, last but not least, is not communicating from your power. So when we are over apologizing, over explaining, getting small, saying every other word, like these words that disconnect us from our power, they're filler words. Saying what you think the other person wants to hear rather than what you actually want to say, what your truth is, not advocating for yourself, and people pleasing. These are all ways that we do not communicate from our power. These are all ways that we stay stuck in little child energy when we are not using our voice at all, right? Maybe we just say, yeah, that's fine. But inside we're like, nope, I'm not fine. I'm not getting my needs met. And then it bubbles and bubbles and bubbles and bubbles until it eventually explodes. And this is what I work on so often with clients, is where are you not actually owning your needs in a non-graspy, demanding, expectational way, but in a calm, grounded, I am human and I have needs ways. And I'm responsible for getting those needs met. It's no one else's responsibility. And again, that's what discerns, staying in a relationship where you're just trying to make the person meet your needs versus you being in your power and saying, you know what, you're not meeting my needs. This is not going to work. And walking away when you need to. Or looking at where you walk away too soon because it's your inner child being like, oh, they can't meet my needs. And really it's looking at where are you not meeting your own needs. So it can kind of show up in either way. So a huge one is the over apologizing, especially as women. We're like, sorry for existing, sorry for breathing, sorry for walking. It's like, where are you saying sorry when you don't actually need to be? Where are you over explaining because you're fearful of how that person will feel if you're actually direct? And how can you practice being more direct? I feel this way. I felt this when you said this, right? Like just using I statements, being more direct. So those are our 5 ways. And in order to shift these, the first step always is bringing the unconscious to the conscious. So being very cognizant of when these things show up for you and say, oh, that's little me. What is little me needing to feel safe, to not control, to not attach on, to not over apologize, to not numb, and how can I relate differently? It's all about relating differently to your emotions, to yourself, to others. And I would love to hear which of these 5 resonated for you the most, because a lot of these are unconscious where we're not even aware, like, oh my God, I didn't know that was my inner child. We don't know until we know, but once we know better, we get to do better. We get to relate differently and help our inner child feel safe so that we can actually feel safe to relate from our most powerful adult selves. And that is the goal. The goal is not to like not have emotion. The goal is the opposite of I am human, I'm going to have emotion. How can I relate to this emotion in a way that is from my adult self rather than my inner child? How can I help that younger part feel so safe and held by myself and maybe by a safe other grounded nervous system like me, a mentor, rather than grasping on for external saving. So if you are ready to process that stored pain, feel safe in your body, and reparent your inner child so you can relate from your most powerful adult self, I have 2 ways of doing this work. I have some one-on-one spots open with a brand new 6-month offer, which is a discounted container. So you can either join for 3 months or 6 months, but the 6-month is going to give you $500 off for either bi-weekly or weekly sessions. I would love to support you in processing that stored pain that little you is still holding on to, helping her or him or them feel safe, and really building that foundation of internal safety so that you can actually create and expand in the way that you want in your life. And then the second way is my membership. This is weekly live trainings, journal prompts, homework, integration, affirmations, community support inside of a private Facebook group. It is so fun. It is such a great community in there, and it's a very low cost way to connect, only $111 per month, or you can do the painful discounted option, which is $1,000 for the entire year. And I always offer 50% off for your first month if you want to give it a try for $55 and see how you like it. So you can DM me, email me, however you want to reach me. I am here. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here today, and I will see you on the next episode.